Hey guys, welcome back to Foritech Online TV. And if you haven't subscribed, please make sure that you do subscribe and don't forget to click on the notification button so that you never miss out on any content that we upload for you guys. And please note that Foritech Online TV is proudly sponsored by Foritech IT Solutions. And as you guys know, this is Catch the Waves with Afia, and on the line we have a psychological counselor, sorry for that, a psychological counselor by the name of Melanie Fonseca. And as you guys know, that whensoever she's on the line with us, it means that we about to tackle matters that involve mental health. And we are in the month of May, and we have a couple of mental health awarenesses that are actually commemorated in May. So today we actually want to discuss about suicide prevention, which is actually also commemorated in the month of May. Mind you, what I want you people to know is that the awareness day and also the what do you call it, Emana? The day for some of this mental health issues are two different things. The awareness is when we bring out or things like, how can I put it, when it's commemorated to teach people about it and awareness, and then there's obviously like days for these mental health issues. So I just wanted to clarify on that. But before I take it further, welcome Melanie, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I always like to be on line and on live with you guys. Thank you so much.
Well, it's a pleasure. So I just want us to get into it. May we commemorate suicide prevention. It's suicide prevention awareness, right? So I just want us to talk about it. So Melanie, guys, is going to help us understand what suicide is, the different kinds of suicides, what really makes a person or leads people to want to commit suicide, and how we can actually avoid in ways to, learn about it, teach ourselves about it, and also prevent it. Right, Melanie?
Yes,
So
definitely.
let's get
We're
into it.
tackling all of
Yeah.
so with suicide, I'll just go right straight into it.
Yeah.
So suicide is an act or an instance of taking one's own life
Mm-hmm.
voluntarily and intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always a reason behind it, and it is always done voluntarily. You are not forced to commit suicide. It's something a person does on their own, by themselves, to themselves. So that's what suicide is.
Mm-hmm.
And suicide is one of the leading death causes in our days.
Yeah.
It's actually one of the leading death causes in our days. And recently, actually, in our country, in Eswatini, we got to hear through the news that students from the university committed suicide because of some, like, they were going through the most. I'll definitely talk about the causes of
Yeah.
suicide. They were
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
through and were having financial struggles, so they decided to voluntarily and intentionally take their own life.
Lives. Yeah. When now you just mentioned Eswatini, I think I also read like there was an article that was showing like top 10 countries that have the highest
Mm-hmm.
suicide rate, and Eswatini was actually part of it. Like as in the
Yeah.
amongst the top 10. And I was just like, okay, it's a small country, and for it to have a high rate number of people who commit suicide, it shows that it means there's a lot of um, things that obviously as we go on you're going to tell us about it. But now I just want us to I would like you to answer this. I know that at times suicide can be considered is considered actually as a like a a health issue, because some other people, they end up wanting to commit suicide because of their health issues, but now it's also considered as a mental health issue. Why is it? Why is that?
Okay, I want to clear that one and also kind of put a difference on that one.
Mm-hmm.
It is suicide is not, it's not a mental disorder on its own,
Okay.
but it is one of the causes. Like mental illness is one of the causes of suicide.
Suicide. Okay. The factors of you having a
Yes,
mental health issue can result to one committing suicide.
committing the suicide.
Mm,
Yes,
mm, And then I think we
that's
should,
what.
I think if we can just also get to the causes of suicide, that will help, me and of course our viewers and listeners, understand more better.
Yeah, there's so many reasons why people can commit suicide. From your mental illnesses, feelings of hopelessness, feeling like a burden to others, and the inability to cope with life stresses. For me, I would say that's the main reason that I have seen people commit suicide in my field and in amongst the patients I've seen and some relatives that I've had who committed suicide. One of the reasons, the main one, was that they were unable to cope with the various life stresses that they were going through. And when it comes to mental illness, depression is one of them. A lot of depressed people tend to then end up taking their lives, and because of the life problems that they're going through, it could be your financial status is not a good one at the moment. For example, the university students here in Eswatini who committed suicide is because they didn't have finances to care for themselves. And I can imagine the depression then that took place, then they decided to commit suicide. And also, and medical disorders, for example, diabetes, cancer.
Yes.
This, when you're terminally ill, it becomes such a heavy burden, and sometimes you feel like the only solution is to just take your own life, is to intentionally take your own life, because there's no cure for diabetes, there's no cure for cancer. So they just feel like the best way is to just take my own life and that's not the case. That's not a solution.
Yeah, that's true. That's
That's
not a solution. But I also think, the more we try to spread awareness about things like this, trying to destigmatize issues like that, because we don't get proper education about it. As I was reading an article, I got to a part where it was like, if only health insurance could also, cover like for mental health, issues where you can go for counseling, because most of the time mental health illnesses or issues are time, if you have a mental health issue and then maybe you have a health policy or that medical aid, at times they don't cover for things like that. They don't cover for me having to see a psychologist, and now I have to fork out from my own pockets, and not in a bad way. You guys don't come cheap. You guys don't come cheap. So at times people will feel like, just imagine now I have to spend so much money just to for me to find the sufficient help that I need. The other time, remember when we even mentioned that I think anything that has to do with mental health, if it wouldn't be free, but if it would reach out to like all the even mobile places, rural places, the places like Logishi locations, because at times you do find people from those places that they are going through a lot, but because they don't have the means of, getting the proper, or let me say psychological help that they need, they end up committing suicide because they'll feel like, what's the point? No one can hear me out. I can't even afford to travel such a long distance, or my medical aid cannot cover for 1, 2, and 3, and boom, matters get worse and you end up wanting to take your own life, which is actually never a solution. And with me mentioning that, I don't know if you could touch on if we could discuss this, what is this? The suicidal behaviors, because they're not the same, they're different suicidal behaviors. So I don't know if you could just touch on that.
Okay, so with suicidal behaviors, you'd normally witness that the person becomes aggressive and or impulsive. They get this aggressive and impulsive behavior, and there are risk factors like for this, like suicidal behaviors. For example, bullying, depression, loss or bereavement, all of this, and persistent feelings of hopelessness or sadness. Yeah. And financial stress. Financial stress, we underestimate financial stress, but really honestly, it is a big risk factor. Because a lot of clients that I've seen that have been going through financial stress is like, they always, like, the unfortunate part is they never see another solution out of that situation that they're in. So this really then they think that, okay, solution is probably to end my life, to just end it all, and that's not the case. That's really not the case. Relationship.
No, continue.
Relationship conflict as well. We take this so lightly.
True. When you mentioned relationship conflicts, I remember with just a group of my peers, we're just talking about all those things, and we had heard that one guy literally committed suicide because the girlfriend was cheating, and things like that. And in the middle of the conversation, some of us were like being very judgmental, like, why would he do such a thing? How can you actually kill yourself because of a relationship and things like that? And as we were discussing, but I'm so glad that we all learned something. We all tried to share the reason why we were saying, whether you were saying that he shouldn't have done that, the other person saying, yeah, it could have led to that, because at times if you're not on the person's shoes, you may never understand, to be betrayed, losing trust in somebody that you trusted so much, and a person having to do you bad, it doesn't matter how little it is, because as an individual, I am different, and how I can tackle a matter would be different from how you would tackle a matter. You also spoke about finances. At times we see even affluent people, wealthy people committing suicide, and people will say, but why, when he had all the money? What could have stressed him or led him to commit suicide? And once you learn, you get to see that not everything revolves maybe around money. You understand? Some people may have it, but are not still okay, mentally, no matter how much you have. You just spoke about cancer, that at times it's, untreatable. We have diseases like HIV and AIDS that people also kill themselves after finding out that they have it, because they can't live with themselves. So you can just imagine that no matter how much money you have, if you have those things, either way, you cannot cure yourself. So those are the things that we got to learn, that suicide doesn't have people that, okay, these are the people who can actually commit suicide. And that's what I feel like we need to learn, so that we can be able to teach each other about all those things and how we can prevent it, and find the help that we may need or the next person may need. As you've been mentioning, like the behaviors that people have, and also I think it does include self-harming, right?
Yes, it does. Suicide, it does include self-harming. It really, because a lot of people who cut themselves, knowingly or unknowingly, end up committing suicide.
Because you keep on having those thoughts.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing. I want you to actually elaborate on something. You know how antidepressants medication, at times if you're taking medication, they say it's also linked to committing to suicide, because of your thoughts, at times taking antidepressant. Okay, no, let me put this question like this. Actually, let me just make it a good. Is it really true that antidepressants can make one actually want to commit suicide or have suicidal thoughts?
Antidepressants can actually, they are a risk. It can of suicide. Taking antidepressants can be a risk of suicide because antidepressants slightly increase the frequency of suicidal thoughts and attempts. Because what antidepressants does is kind of uplifts your mood, because when you're in a depressed mood, you're normally down, you're low, you have a low mood, you have antidepressants, you get a bit lighter, you feel a bit better. At times you get increased anxiety, agitation, restlessness, irritability, anger. So all these can then increase the frequency of your suicidal thoughts and attempts, especially in children, adolescents, and young people. So you'd have to really be monitored by your doctor or your psychiatrist who has diagnosed you and prescribed you the medication, so that they can watch how your symptoms are, what's happening. You just need to be monitored along those times. At times they may reduce your intake, they may remove, depending on how you're reacting as well. Yeah.
So in other words, you're saying that it is also vital for a patient to, if they see like there is a change in their moods or actions and thoughts when under antidepressants, and consult with their psychologist to be like, no, I feel my medication, this is what it's doing, so that they can be better steps to be taken.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. That is very eye-opening, because I see people, on social platforms posting on how this antidepressants make me feel, and I decided to now stop them because, they're wild. Personally, I know at times you can also feel like you're hallucinating, like maybe am I going crazy or things like that. But I think it's all okay to know the next steps on what to do. Anyways, back on suicide. What are the measures to be taken when one is suicidal?
Seek help. I know it becomes very difficult to seek the help you need, but seek help. And it always helps to have a supportive system. Speak about it. Oh, my mom is calling. Hello. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah.
You were saying we should speak about it. Well, with us speaking about it, at times it's a bit tricky because we always scared of being judged, right? We always scared being judged by
Yeah.
your peers, by your friends, by people around you. You understand? Especially, with this as suicide is a very how can I put it? A very hard thing to take because once you committed suicide, even your family have been robbed of from you. You understand?
Yeah.
And we are left questioning ourselves, but why? Why couldn't she say sooner? We could have helped or things like that. And yet we also fail to understand that the same as that when the person is gone, we'll be saying, she should have spoken out or things like that. At times we can be showing the symptoms, but because
Yeah.
we just choose maybe to ignore or be ignorant of them. The people at times, even the way that they can be talking, you will tell that, hey, this one, maybe the sudden change now, this person is always talking about dying, killing myself. Yeah, guys, me sometimes I wonder how it would be if I would kill myself. Would you guys miss me? Those small things, I think, are things that we need to
Yeah.
take into consideration. The little
And
things.
pay attention to. Yeah.
You get me?
Yes,
and
definitely.
and also coming back to us black people and things like that, people will say, the person killed themselves because the person had demons. I don't know if you've heard things like that. How
Yeah.
I know that one, no, it's just
Yes.
demons, things like that. And we just because we are not fully aware of these things, we're not educative enough, to understand and learn this kind of things. I also wish that people in your field, can also be going to schools, especially high schools, because that's when a lot of teenagers at times find themselves in a crossroads, and then boom, they want to commit suicide. Boom, they want to die because maybe they are misunderstood at home. Adolescent stage on its own, I think it takes a toll
Yeah.
also in teenagers trying to understand yourself, and then you end up feeling like, okay, nobody understands me, nobody gets me, let me just eliminate myself from this world. Probably it's going to be much more better.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So now,
That
as
is true.
what do you feel like we could do more as a society, out there to push this agenda of letting people know about suicide prevention? How can we prevent it? All those kind of things. If we could just, sum it up.
I think we can just avoid the stigma that we have when it comes to suicide, because honestly there is a stigma when you hear that, oh, someone has committed suicide, or you there's this stigma that's just there. We should, as a society, try to reduce those stigmas. That's why these awarenesses are here, so prevention awareness is here as well, to help reduce that stigma, to also assist people, like by promoting resilience, like increased factors that resilience. It's always good to be aware of things and to know that if I'm feeling depressed, I really should get help before I get to the stage of actually thinking about suicide. Because that thought does come, especially when you're depressed, you're in a dark space, you're in a dark place, So these are having the suicide prevention awareness just also gives people that support, that we are here whenever you need it. It's something serious that we do take into consideration. So get the help that you need. The fact that the awareness is there should be enough for people to come out and speak about it and share and talk about the experiences they're going through, and get the education that they need on how to get better and all of these things, because having awareness means that we care and we really want people, like we need the suicide rate to drop because it is so high. And unfortunately, we this is all we can do, literally. And we need to also reduce factors that increase the risk. We need to really be considerate towards other people.
Yeah, we didn't now. We even wrapping things up. You just mentioned the factors, and we didn't even get to that. Maybe in like a minute, you could just drop, the factors that can actually make one want to commit suicide.
Oh, okay. Under the factors, it was mostly on the causes, like going through a medical illness or disorder.
Okay.
Maybe I can go deep on that on because I touched on diabetes and cancer, when you chronically ill or terminally ill. But there's also like medical conditions like HIV and AIDS, for example. Maybe someone just finds out that I'm HIV positive. Maybe I have AIDS, and the first thing they'll think of is committing suicide. So that's one of the risk factors. And also head injuries, yeah, having a head injury could also be a risk factor. Traumatic childhood experiences.
Yeah.
Yes, especially physical and sexual abuse. I'd also like to add on verbal abuse can cause someone to commit suicide. When someone is physically abusing you, sexually abusing you, or verbally abusing you, telling you that you're nothing, you'll never be anything, you don't matter in this life. And hearing those words can actually push someone into believing that I don't deserve to be alive. I don't deserve to be here. So it means I should take my own life. Yet that is really not the case. And another risk factor is the use of alcohol.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember when we did the alcohol awareness, we did mention that yes, there is a strong correlation between suicide and alcoholism. And it is true because the use of alcohol intensifies depression, and which means that it makes suicidal behavior more likely. And alcohol also reduces self-control and increases impulsivity. So you can just decide in that 1 second whilst under the influence that I am killing myself and actually do it. And actually do it. And I want to put across this example. That's why the reason why men are 4 times more likely to take their own lives than women is because men, they don't think as much as we do about committing suicide. And they do it more silently. For example, a guy can just take his alcohol and drink, and those feelings can be intensified. Those suicidal thoughts can be intensified. The fact that he doesn't have control over himself anymore and he's impulsive with that thought, he'll just do what he needs to at that moment. Compared to us, he actually will be thinking about it. They'll be like, no, I am leaving. I still need to do this, I still need to do that. And why it's considered attempted suicide is because we would probably let a person know as well who will then come to our rescue. Whereas with men it's different. They don't speak about it. They
just act and do it. I think also because as a society we've forever said that men are strong, men have to be strong, men have to, act manly. I don't know what that means, guys, to act manly, whether it means you shouldn't have emotions or feelings, which I feel like it's very wrong of us to actually be like that. Like if you feel vulnerable, I believe that be vulnerable. If you feel like you need help, you may never know who the person you're being vulnerable to or how they will help you, so that you can feel better. So, we don't have a lot of time, guys. I feel like this was such a very interesting topic, and I also feel like probably we need to do maybe a part two, because it's very broad. It's very broad. I know that as people
Yeah.
and you guys who will be watching, may know a person who might have committed suicide. It may not be around your like immediate family. It could be at school, it could be someone from church, it could be someone from your community. So let us be able to help the next person prevent themselves from committing suicide by helping them, reach out to them. Let us be kind. All this bullying, especially on social media,
Yeah.
as Melanie has mentioned, that things like that do happen. We've seen a lot of celebrities committing suicide, and then they'll say it's a result of being cyberbullied. So all those things, a lot of impacts. If maybe you're not okay, try to, at times it's good to black out from social media, shift back from social
Yeah.
media. It also helps to gather yourself. I'm talking saying all those things because as I said, I suffer also from a mental health illness, and I have learned how to be able to control. At times, the things that we watch can lead you also to, be worse. I don't know if I should say relapse, maybe, and be in that state probably of depression, of anxiety, of maybe being stressed
Yeah.
so much, and then next thing you drink alcohol. From drinking, you feel like, no, you know what, you don't have
Mhm.
a sense of belonging in this world, and then you end up committing suicide. Melanie is always here, guys, with me to always help tackle all these mental health illnesses. If this is the first time probably you tuning in and we are talking about suicide prevention awareness, check our past. We've past programs as well. We've been talking about alcohol awareness. We've been talking about stress awareness. So all those things, bipolar. It's us as Tech Online TV trying to bring
Yeah.
awareness to everybody out there. And I don't know how many times I'll say thank you, Melanie, for always, coming to join me and helping not only me, not only my colleagues, I mean, the people who are always watching, our subscribers, and, everybody else. So, 10 seconds of what you'd like to say to anybody right now who maybe wants to commit suicide. Just 10 seconds.
Okay. I'd say it's not worth it. It is honestly not worth it. Get the help that you need and focus on yourself. Whatever situation you're facing, it will pass, because situations come and go. And you need to be resilient, and you need to stay focused on yourself. So that's just what I would say to someone who has those type of thoughts, that you are very important and it's not this in your life. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Then till next time.
Thank you so much for having me. I cannot wait for our part two and for the other topics we're going to be doing.
Of course.
Remember, May is mental health awareness month.
Yes.
So, yeah, this is going to be fun.
Okay, then, dear. Then till next time.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay, guys, so if you've actually watched till this point and you had forgotten to subscribe, please make sure that you subscribe. And what we were talking about now was suicide prevention. And also, May is also mental health awareness. So please make sure that you are kinder to yourself. Get the help that you need if you feel like, you're not okay. And also, trust me, always know that your feelings are valid. No matter how you feel, they are valid. So always make sure that you're kinder to yourself and to the next person, because you may never know what they're going through. Anyways, from your girl, I feel it's a TTF and Tata for now.